Baltimore, Maryland. Welcome to the Lumber Liquidators Championship. 7 rollers chasing number 1 seed Patrick Allen.
Dick Jones. Fantastic. Baltimore is the city, and welcome to the telecast. Deany the champion is Sean Rash. They want his title, look a whole year past. Your moment, you can't let your chance pass. Crowds on the edge, antsy in their chairs. Screaming out your name with they signs in the air. Take claim to your lane, this is now your pair. You know why you hearing it becomes so clear. Believe in yourself like nobody does. We all see what it is, but we don't know what it was. All week, you grind, you shot, you slime, you fight, you time, you made prime time. Ain't been on the show, now you got 7 to be ESPN 2 hours. What more do we need? So everybody stand up, show love for your sport. And from the PBA, we say thanks for the support. We leave no in standings. We leave no in standings. We leave no in standings.
Welcome to the 8th event of this season's Deany's PBA Tour. 71 titles and 10 majors have been won between tonight's 8 competitors, and that's right, I said 8 competitors. Our tournament format is full of bowlers. The number 8, 7, 6, and 5 seeds will do battle versus one another. The winner will advance to take on the 4 seed, 24-year-old Rhino Page. And alongside 13-time titleist Randy Peterson, I'm Rob Stone. Happy holidays to you. And today's format, a lot like what you're probably experiencing around the local malls right now. A lot of traffic. We begin with that 4-bowler cluster, and that's going to affect the lanes all day.
It really is. With all of that extra traffic, the oil pattern's going to break down much faster. Guys are going to have to make their best adjustments to get past that first match.
And we begin that first match with a 4-bowler pod, and sitting in that pod, and sitting really on top of the entire bowling world right now, Walter Ray Williams Jr. looking for a 2nd straight title.
He just proves week in and week out. It doesn't matter the format. It doesn't matter the oil pattern. At 48 years of age, he's having the best start of his career ever. Just proves it week in and week out. He's the greatest to ever play this game.
Yeah, he told us yesterday his goal right now really is trying to win that Player of the Year honor. He is in the driver's seat for that right now. But in the driver's seat today, number 1 seed, the lefty, Patrick Allen, he's going to have a long time to sit, think, wait, and evaluate how these lanes are breaking down.
I agree, but I think he's in the best spot imaginable for this format. All of the players were adamant. They all agreed that the straighter you can play this pattern, the better your carry percentage was when you hit the pocket. Patrick Allen, one of 2 southpaws. Well, he doesn't have all that traffic on his side. I think he can go straight enough, long enough to knock all 10 down when he gets there.
I suck in the tent to be Walter Ray! When we return, we put our scorekeeper to work. 4 bowlers unleashed at the same time. In about half an hour, one of them will have survived. The Lumber Liquidators Championship is brought to you by Lumber Liquidators, hardwood flooring for less. By Deany's, Deany's always works. By Motel 6, official lodging partner of the PBA. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. Visit geico.com. And we welcome you back to the AMF Country Club lanes in Baltimore, Maryland for the Lumber Liquidators Championship. We begin with our 4-bowler shootout. High score advances to take on the 4 seed. You have our number 5 seed, Walter Ray Williams Jr., looking for his 45th title. Chris Warren, a wonderful story that we'll develop further in our broadcast. Mike DeVaney, they nickname him Monkey Boy. We'll tell you why in a moment. And the 8 seed, Chris Barnes. Last time we saw him on television, he bowled one of the more mystifying games we have ever seen in bowling.
It was a mystifying match, and Brad Angelo, 150 to 160.
Again, with Mike DeVaney. Rather, Chris Warren. The 6 seed opens us up with the strike.
Welcome back to Bowling on Television, Chris Warren. It's been a long, long time. In fact, his last show, 1995. Welcome back, kid.
Starts it with the strike and then sits down
ago, the Ectonic Championship, same oil pattern. He also then missed a single pin spare.
This four-person shootout type format to open up, one mistake and you can pretty much write yourself off. He's got an early hole, Chris Barnes, to start it off. There we go. Oh, he blew those up.
Chris Barnes came in a couple hours early this evening to work out some kinks in his physical game. He was here way before all the other players practicing and working on his game.
Walter Ray started with the strike. Going to open up with the double.
That's just an awful break, leaving the 4-7-9. Walter 4.5 steps, just a half a step to get himself started to try to stay slow enough to get his ball to hook.
He was telling us yesterday, worst carry all season this week outside of his trip to Chicago. Yet he still placed fifth, but in the second frame he is unable to get a mark.
I think this is one of the greatest stories of the years. Chris Warren back on television after the hard times that he fell into some years back. A lot of thanks goes out to Ken Baker, Rhino personally as well. Ken Baker really took Chris Warren under his wing and took care of him.
Oh, great start for Warren from the fall of '97 to essentially the fall of 2001. He was telling us really did not touch a bowling ball, dealing with some personal demons, drugs and alcohol, stealing him away from his family and from the bowling centers. Fought back in 2000 and started getting a little more positive, and here he is on TV for the first time in over a decade. Chris Barnes, one strike, two strikes.
Using two different bowling balls, and right now, Rob, early on, Chris Barnes is carrying the building. He's going to bowl a lot higher than that 150 game the last time we saw him on television. See that grip right there of Mike DeVaney? It's called the Sarge Easter grip. Fingertip, middle finger, conventional ring finger.
He may be staring at back-to-back open frames.
No, you can pretty much count on it because the 4-6 split is not something you make every day.
Your strategy at the 4-6?
You got to throw it really hard at either the 4 or the 6 and just try to tip it over to the other fan.
Try to cut it, slice it to the left, no luck.
And not the start Mike DeVaney wanted.
He's at 18. Chris Warren and Barnes tied right now, both back-to-back strikes. Get it! Just missed knocking out that 10.
Nicknamed Squeak or Squeaks because of his high-pitched voice. I've known Chris for a long, long time, and he still displays a lot of power even at age 44. He gets the ball into the swing real quick, gets those feet moving. He's actually using a conventional grip this week. We'll talk more about that later.
Knocks that one down. Warren got back into the bowling swing of things in 2002 when he started doing the Northwest Regional Tour. Originally, it was kind of in a Bull Durham type capacity to Justin Clement. The first event he went to, he actually ended up going solo to and won it. This will be his first top 10 finish of the season. Top 10, nothing new to Walter Ray. Walter Ray told us, it's all about simple mathematics today. According to my numbers, I have a 1 in 64 chance to win this one. Everybody in this four-person pod, if you will, not overly optimistic that they're going to be walking away with a big check today. Walter Ray picks up the spare. So he starts strike, open frame, spare.
Mike DeVaney right now looking for his first mark of the game.
9 and 9. Frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. That's much better. You're watching the Lumber Liquidators Championship coming away from Baltimore, Maryland. Due to time constraints, we move further ahead in our coverage. Here's Monkey Boy Mike DeVaney.
You had to call him Monkey Boy, huh?
Monkey Boy!
Throw that kid a banana!
Drops them all. Winless in his last 4 TV matches. It's been 94 events since his first and only title came at the 2003 Geico Earl Anthony Classic in Tacoma. Chris Barnes, your leader, working off the ham bone, looking for 5 in a row. Give him 5! We had dinner with Barnesy last night, and he wasn't down, but he had no expectations for today at all. He said, man, I've never had a lower stress level going into a TV event than I have right now.
Well, if he gets through this first match, let's see if that will continue as the night goes on.
Walter Ray working a spare. Give him a strike. Oh, this is rapid fire bowling. There's your leader, Chris Barnes. Has opened up with 5 straight strikes. He's in pursuit of a Motel 6 6th frame. I'll tell you about that in a second. Barnes on top by 21. Here's Chris Warren.
Watch how fast these feet get going and how early he gets the ball back into the top of the backswing.
In pursuit of a triple bagger. Three in a row now for Warren. A lot of things have tried to knock him down through the years. What a great personality. So warm, inviting, upbeat yesterday in our conversation with him.
Well, if you ever met his mother, Mary, she's 83 years of age now. We went on a trip together to Japan when all the guys are going to Japan Cup. She is the most wonderful person you'll ever meet.
Motel 6, 6th frame for Barnes. Oh! Had he knocked all 10 down, he would have earned $600 from Motel 6, the official lodging partner of the PBA.
And Rob, it's all about the Benjamins, and one nasty ringing 10 will cost him 6 of those.
Will have to win 5 matches today to take the title. He's off to a great start here, though.
He beat my last game on TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, he beat his last game in the 6th frame.
He had a 151 last time we saw him versus Brad Angelo. He was bowling like, I don't know, like me after a few too many pitchers. I mean, things were standing that shouldn't be standing for him.
Tough pattern. They broke down and got real ugly.
DeVaney starting to pick up his groove now.
Right now, Mike DeVaney's looking at, well, you know what? I got started really, really poorly, but if I strike out, I can still shoot 258.
DeVaney with the ham bone gets himself back into it, but Barnes, your leader, by a 10 spot. Winner who could turn the conclusion of our 4 bowlers shootout, Chris Barnes in the lead. You're watching the Lumber Liquidators Championship coming away from Baltimore, Maryland. Due to time constraints, we move further ahead in our coverage. Walter Ray Williams, Jr. is pretty much done. It's not often we say that about Walter Ray, down 51.
The quarterback is toast, but
this moment, right now, check out that pin action. That's why you put revolutions and spin on a bowling ball. Feeling this pressure is what makes sports fun.
Give him the lead.
Brilliant shot. One more strike just like that, and he cannot lose. He can only tie. Watch the 6, second to the right, 6 pin. It's going to slap the 10 silly. Watch that. Bang, take that.
Looking to wrap this up with 4 consecutive strikes. He would finish no worse than in a tie.
Are you kidding me? Well, he yelled dig, and it dug in too hard. The ball hooked just a little bit too much. The back part of the lane and went right by the 9 pin. Watch this. Right at you. Oh, my.
Ends with a 257.
Chris Barnes now 3 in the 10th will win, or excuse me, beat Chris Warren by 1 pin. Mike DeVaney can still strike out for 258. Chris Barnes, 2 strikes and 9. He'll tie Chris Warren.
And this place was about as silent as it can get. There's one. Playing with a purpose.
Chris Barnes needs to just stay out of his own way mentally, just keep making the same shots he's been making, and hope that the pin carry gods are good to him as he takes a re-rack on the left lane. Buy himself some time mentally. Don't overthink it. Just get up and execute.
Looking for his first televised win this season. 0-3 this season, 1-5 in his last 5 TV appearances. You see DeVaney watching on the right. Golly.
Last shot went light. This one goes high. Looks like it's just a little bit left to target. You see that little snap at the back end there. And no trip 4. So now it's up to Mike DeVaney. 3 in the 10th. He moves on. 2 strikes and 9. He ties Chris Warren. Anything less, Chris Warren will move on and face Rhino Page.
248 for Barnes. Here's DeVaney. Again, started with consecutive open frames, and then has been nothing but strikes since. Hold it. 8th in a row for the 7 seed, DeVaney.
And after just an ugly start where he whiffs the 10 pin and then comes back with a 4-6 split, he's got 2, 4, 6, 8 in a row.
all, DeVaney. His last shot in the 10th.
That's money.
Needs it, gets it, and moves on. Well, we started in dramatic fashion. We were staring at the possibility of a three-way tie. But DeVaney was able to muscle his way through and move on. Essentially, that is now 11 strikes in a row for DeVaney over the course of 2 games. And he started off the four-man shootout with 2 open frames and then went 10 straight strikes. Now Rhino Page making his TB debut, looking to become the 77th bowler in tour history to win a title in their first appearance on television. The first of 2 lefties on the show leaves 2 standing on his first toss.
I thought it was interesting to watch in practice. Patrick Allen, who is kind of a mentor to Rhino Page, was over watching him practice. As you take a look at his form, obviously this kid's got loads of talent. But Patrick was over trying to help him get lined up, trying to calm his nerves a bit.
Takes care of that.
His ball reaction didn't look that good. Patrick kept sanding other bowling balls, putting surface on other bowling balls to try to get him a better look. It didn't look all that great. And I'll tell you what, a minute before you're about to bowl your first ever game on television and you have a bad ball reaction, that's a really scary place to be.
Patrick Allen, our number 1 seed. He's the other lefty that's left. Page, open with the spare.
There you go.
Like that one.
Come on.
Now, we throw around the term up-and-comer a lot. This kid, though, fits the bill.
He's got a load of talent. This week broke a record during the TQR, the tournament qualifying round. He broke the 7-game record. He averaged 269, a record previously held by Jason Couch. Kid can throw a lot of strikes.
In those 7 games, he dropped 1,883 hits. All 10 dropped there for DeVaney as we take a look at our Motel 6 matchup. The number 4 versus the number 7 seed, righty versus lefty. Page taking on DeVaney as you look at their numbers through the week.
Both players are both 300. Mike DeVaney, what he's just done is thrown 12 in a row over 2 games. That's actually referred to as an Andy Varapapa 300 game. Did you know that, Rob?
There's no way I knew that.
Stay out there. You know, the players all talked about the more angle you create, the worse the carry gets here. Mike DeVaney's creating a little bit of angle, and he's got 13 in a row.
A Baker's dozen consecutive strikes for DeVaney. 9 300 games were rolled this week. 41 have been tossed this season. So if you break down that average, 9, a very high amount of 300 games this week. Page, spare, strike, strike.
There we go. I think there's 3 rookies to watch out here that are bowling the TQR. They're not even exempt players. One of them is David O'Sullivan, Team USA guy, PJ Haggerty, Team USA guy, and this kid right here, Rhino Page. And he's proving that he can really get it done via the tour qualifying round. We used to call it the PTQs back in the day, or the Rabbit Squads. I can tell you they were no fun to bowl way back in the day, and it's no bargain today either. There you go. Come on.
Thought he had a turkey.
I just think that this year the talent pool is much stronger than it has been in some years for the guys that are bowling pre-tournament qualifiers. A lot of really, really good players out there. And they're all trying to do one thing, and that's Rhino Page's main goal, and that's to earn an exemption, full exempt status out here on the Deany's PBA Tour.
Smacks that one down. He was telling us yesterday just how surprised he was at the relaxation he was feeling going into his first TV event. You know, something he said he's dreamed about the last few years. He's been in the stands quite a bit. He's been under the lights before, bowling in college at the University of Kansas. Knows he can compete with these guys. DeVaney looking for 14 in a row. No.
Now he's looking to make his first spare of the day. Has not had a spare. And remember, game one, he missed a 10-pin to start that match. This one's just a little later, a little behind the head pin. And a lot of times you're going to leave that corner pin when the ball just gets a little bit too far down the lane. Like DeVaney going with a piece of tape for a spare ball. Says, you know what? I'm going to not miss another 10-pin. Let me tape up.
There you go. He's been doing a lot of dancing today. We saw the jelly roll belly rub in his first match. I don't know what that was, a little jig.
Was that the river dance? No, couldn't have been.
Shades of Chris Farley dancing with Patrick Swayze on Saturday Night Live. Yeah! Get back on that strike. Boat, my friend.
I'm not even going to follow you down that road, just so you know.
Excellent
The
decision.
Chris Farley dancing with Patrick Swayze, I'm not even following you there.
Here's Rhino Page. Won 2 golds at this summer's Pan Am Games held in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Telling us about the experience. We'll tell you about it after this toss. Leads the 7. He said of those Pan Am Games, the first time he really felt like an Olympic athlete. He stayed in the athlete village. As bowlers, you don't get to feel like athletes very often. Got to go down to the beach and watch the men's volleyball team take on Brazil. A wonderful experience and a bit of a different bowling growth curve now for players these days compared to maybe your days coming up through the ranks, Randy.
Completely different nowadays. A lot of bowling scholarships offered by universities out there. Not so back in my era when I first started on tour back in 1981. But I think the biggest thing is the experience that these players gain bowling collegiately. They travel the world. They bowl on some pretty tough and brutal conditions, and they're well seasoned.
Has bowled for Junior Team USA, Team USA, college. Now here in the PBA. This is just his 7th career PBA event as a member. He joined in October of this year. He's making a pretty strong showing here in his TV debut. Don't mess with Rhino. Page in just his 7th career PBA event. Hopes to continue his recent hot streak, the conclusion of his match when we return. Welcome back to Baltimore. DeVaney Page continues to roll on in their battle. We take a look at this week's Lumber Liquidators Know Your Wood, and we examine the scorpion oil pattern, Randy.
Well, again, these players like to stay right or straight as long as possible. The righties out here, the lefties here, because they all said that helps increase carry. But obviously, the more the lanes are bowled on, this oil in here goes away, and that forces the players to move in the middle part of the lane. When that happens, the angle changes, and the carry goes south. But so far from Mike DeVaney, it hasn't been the case.
You and I were talking about oil patterns before we came on today, and it's the hidden factor. You're looking at some sports parallels. You don't really understand what the oil patterns mean because they fluctuate each week. You know, think about golf, how fast your greens are, how you read them, how thick the rough is. Hockey, choppy or smooth ice. Football or soccer, artificial turf versus grass. All these things are factors in how you play a game and how much or how little you succeed. It's the same way here in bowling.
The oil pattern, Rob, dictates everything out here. It dictates how high or how low the scores are. It dictates equality left and right. You can set the lanes up to where the righties will never beat the lefties, where the lefties will never beat the righties, where the hook guys have more of an advantage than the straight guys. It's all predicated on how you apply the oil to the lanes. This week, the scorpion pattern is 42 feet in length. And keep in mind that this season, the PBA is using 2 different oils, and they alternate that on a weekly basis. Hook a lot.
Rhino Page, and many of these marks have been tallied recently.
He's 16th on the point list, and he's not an exempt player. I mean, that's pretty astounding, seeing how he doesn't get into the events unless he makes it through the TQR.
And exempt is the key word for him. That is his main goal, to become an exempt player. Tough, especially when you are a lefty. Down 31.
Well, and it didn't look good in practice, like I alluded to earlier. His ball reaction didn't look very good in practice. It doesn't look very good right now, and now he's just lost the puck.
Big test of his young pro career right now.
Get lucky.
And DeVaney, the 7 seed, clearly in the driver's seat now, up 44 as he gets set for his 8th frame. 6 of his 7 frames have been strikes. Gave a little look away there when he tossed that.
Somebody moved off to the right of the set and caught Mike DeVaney, but luckily he let go of it in the proper direction with the right stuff on it. And right now he is all over Rhino Page, up by 54 pins. Rhino Page is best he can shoot 215. Mike DeVaney can shoot 279. It's a rout.
There we go. DeVaney has been bowling for a living since he was 18 years old. DeVaney will move on. Take on the 3 seed Mike Wolfe. I asked him what it was like bowling for a paycheck at that early age. He said, hey, it's an easy way to make money. Beats working at Jack in the Box. Rhino drops 10. Now, this one is done for the youngster Page. So Page sees his TV debut come to a close as DeVaney has won it. And when we return, we'll see him take on the 3 seed Mike Wolfe, who's quietly putting together a career season. Continuing coverage of the Lumber Liquidators Championship, our 8-bowler format has been reduced to the final 4, and we're essentially in our quarterfinal right now. Number 3 seed Mike Wolfe taking on the 7th seed Mike DeVaney. DeVaney looking for his 3rd straight win today. DeVaney won his last match over Rhino Page by 63 pins, 278-215. How much longer can he keep this going?
He's got exactly 1 spare in 2 games.
He has more open frames than he has spares. Now, boatload of strikes to go with it. Here's Mike Wolfe from New Albany, Indiana, just across the river from Louisville, same town as Fuzzy Zeller came from. Wolfe quietly having a career season.
The cyborg just gets up there and kind of goes through the motions and does his business. Not a lot of emotion seen anytime Mike Wolfe is on the approach or on the lanes. Maybe not on the outside, but you can bet a lot going on the inside.
Wolfe making his 3rd championship round appearance this season, a career high for him as we take a gander at our Motel 6 matchup. DeVaney and Wolfe. DeVaney with a much higher average and a 300 game this week as well. And joining us in the booth right now, Chris Barnes, who is the number 8 seed who started off rock chalk solid. four-man shootout. There's a strike for Wolfe, and Barnes finishing third in that four-man shootout with a 248. I know you'd rather be out there, but I realize this is your second best option, and we're happy to have you here. Tell us how the lanes are kind of holding up right now.
Well, actually not too bad. Like Randy said, we're on the 42-foot scorpion pattern. Guys were pretty good in practice. There's a lot of practice, a lot of guys. They stayed to the right. They broke them down. They're playing much deeper than during the week, but there's a lot more hook to the right because of all the play out there.
DeVaney opens with the double. But what did you see from Mike DeVaney in that four-person square down earlier in the day?
Well, with about less than 5 minutes to go in practice, he jumped about 2 arrows left. He was real good about staying to the right of 10, like everybody else was, breaking the lane down. He got a dull ball, went into about 15, and he basically had about 3 or 4 boards at the arrows that would all feed in the pocket. Once he got out of the way the first couple frames, he was tough to beat.
He's tough to beat on the dance floor, too.
Yeah, he's got some moves that I haven't seen in quite some time. I've got to go back to Danny Terrio on Dance Fever, or was that Solid Gold? What was it? You know Danny Terrio,
I
don't you?
know.
This has been the trouble all week. Because there's 42 feet, it's hard to create entry angle down lane. The front breaks down, and because it hooks so much sooner, you don't get a little trip four. Most of the time you cut through the heart. Carries the big deal. The guys are a lot deeper right now than they were during the week. It'll be interesting to see who can make the right moves to knock the 10 out.
Well, and that's not going to change when Wes Malott gets on the floor, because he's a big hook power guy like these two. And he did say that, one of his options was moving further right and getting real firm, but do you really see that happening today?
No, I was further right than everybody, and you could see at the end of the match, the front was starting to break down, and you open yourself up to some big misses in the wrong spots.
Oh, God.
Wolfe with 2 in a row. Blew that rack up.
Chris, why so much success this season from Mike Wolfe? You know him as well as anyone. You used to room with him out here. What's going on?
I think a lot of it has to do with confidence. I mean, he's been throwing it really good, starting with 2 seasons ago when he broke through and won twice. Last year, he really had some bad luck. He had some great weeks where he had probably the best look or the second best look, but he bowled the guy that won the title twice, including right here in Baltimore last year to Sean Rash.
Oof.
Yeah.
Face first on that one.
Well, and this is a real bad time for this to happen, because with that strike on the right lane, he takes the lead, and then he gives it right back to Mike DeVaney. Watch this cut right through the heart. Leaves the Greek church minus the 10 pin.
I think that's just a couple of things. Mike DeVaney showed that lane's starting to hook a little bit more. Wolfe's ball hooks a little bit more down lane. He pays a little bit bigger price.
Beautiful.
Leaves 2 standing. Wolfe down by 4 to DeVaney.
Chris, what happened in the 10th frame of the match that you bowled with the other 3 players? You re-racked in the 10th frame and then went 4-pin. What happened?
I was just buying a little bit of time. I was a little jacked up after I got the first one. I was pretty firm with it. The second one, it was a better shot on line, but it hooked in the front too, just like it did on the right lane.
Oh, boy, you really see that sucker whipping in now. That was almost a Brooklyn strike. Leaves the 10 pin standing.
Ball pattern's really starting to get torn apart from all the revs and all the big hooks. The big hook ball's going down the lane. Check it out. This ball gets a little bit to the right and just looks like somebody kicks it left.
Picks up the spare, does DeVaney. At one point, DeVaney had rolled 16 strikes in a row over the course of 2 matches. I say that with a bit of a question mark, don't I? It was either 15 or 16.
13, then he goes 10 pin and then through another 2, 4, 6, 7.
Yeah. So started with went through 13 in a row.
So he threw a bunch.
There's another one. Just able to clip that 10.
Chris, who's got the advantage right now, and who do you see possibly coming out with a victory here tonight?
Well, Mike DeVaney is throwing a ball that rolls a little bit sooner, So as he moves left, he should still read the middle. Wolfe can get to it cleaner. I'd probably give the advantage to DeVaney just because he's already so much further left, and he's ahead of Wolfe in that regard. But when this guy has struck this year, there has been no stopping him.
Leaves one more standing.
Nice work on the pair, guys.
And that's what he's talking about. We had 50 minutes of practice this week, way more than usual, about a half hour more. The extra 4 guys, but just a lot of rev rate going down the lane. And the front chews up really fast on these long patterns because guys use dollar balls to get at the hook.
And a lot of practice time today as well in between these matches.
That ball? Use the blasting thing. Bounce right off it.
DeVaney has been in a loose mood all day long, and for good reason. Coming up from that 7-seed slot. You guys are all pretty much saying anybody who's battling in that 4-man battle royal to start things off with is a very slim at best shot of winning today.
I think Walter figured out 1 in 64.
Yeah.
Nice shot there by the young man at age 12 who bowled 2 300 games.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that. Chris Barnes, we want to thank you for joining us and hope to see you next week in Spartanburg. Wolfe looking to go 5-1 on TV this season, the conclusion of his match with DeVaney when we return. Welcome back to Baltimore, home of the Ravens, and this week's PBA Tour stop Monday night on ESPN. It's Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints traveling to take on the Falcons in Atlanta, 2 NFC South rivals battling. Our coverage begins on ESPN, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Monday Night Football. 2 teams having slightly disappointing seasons. Reggie Bush, talk is his season may be done due to a knee injury. We hope certainly that is not the case. We continue on here. DeVaney with a 4-pin lead and working off a strike here in the 6th. He was telling us this week, we actually describe how his week went. Says, throwing rockets. Throw them firm, keep those lines pretty straight.
Well, that was the idea early on, and through match play, you stayed as far right as you could, as long as you could. And in order for a high rev guy like Mike DeVaney to stay out there, he's got to throw it really fast. Right now, he's actually playing just the opposite of that. He's way in around the 4th arrow at the arrows, swinging it out to about the 7th board down lane. Most of the guys this week tried to stay right of 2nd arrow. Mike DeVaney into 4th arrow. His break point's at the 7th board. Ball speed about 17 miles an hour. That's going to create a lot of curve and that rainbow look down the lane. And when that happens, as we talked about before, pin carry starts to go south.
Second time he's left the 4 standing. Takes care of it there in the 7th. Lead is 13. Wolfe, though, coming in, working off a strike to make a significant cut into that lead here. You mentioned he had bowled 2 300 games at the age of 12. The first one was part of a parent-child league on a Sunday afternoon. He celebrated with a wiffle ball game in the neighborhood. Not quite the champagne shower and drinks on the house.
He's 12.
Understood. Another strike there for Wolfe. They still have that like alcohol-free apple champagne that you used to drink on New Year's Eve, right, when you were a kid. His second 300 game, coincidentally enough, happened on the day he had a photo shoot for Sports Illustrated planned. The photo shoot was in the afternoon, and he rolled 300 in the morning. It was part of that Faces in the Crowd in SI, and also an article in Sports Illustrated for Kids. 2 300 games at the age of 12. Unreal.
When you make SI at the age of 12, that's big.
You make SI period, that's huge. Looking for 3 in a row. Got it! Lead now to Wolfe by 7.
Head pin going to the sidewall, doing what it's supposed to do. And with that shot there, Mike Wolfe just put the asty in nasty. That's 3 in a row. Wolfe now has the lead.
I wasn't sure where you were going with that. You cleaned it up nicely. Here's DeVaney. And DeVaney responds with a strike of his own to match Wolfe.
Ebonite Digitrax is a digital analysis system that gives us accurate data of ball motion on the lane. Here are the numbers for Mike DeVaney. The shootout match, he was around the 16th board, just inside third arrow. You see where he's migrated to now. That's because the oil is coming off the lane. That's going to stay right. Stay right.
Got it! Getting good pin play, gets the double. Lead back to DeVaney.
Mike DeVaney knew that that was a huge shot. He needed to have this to keep any hopes alive in this match. With this strike here, it now enables him to strike out in the 10th for 235. Mike Wolfe can strike out 9th and 10th for 242. Without that hit, Mike DeVaney wouldn't have stood a chance in this match.
Read that one well.
Two more here in good count. Mike Wolfe will go on to face Wes Malott.
Malott, our number 2 seed. Patrick Allen, our 1 seed. Allen, the lone remaining lefty. So his side of the lanes essentially have been untouched for a while now. Wolfe up 7. Looking for 5 in a row. Little high on that one, Randy?
A little high on that one, and that's, that was the theme this week, was to try to go straight as you can. On this left lane, you want to give it a little bit of angle, kind of like what Mike DeVaney's doing. Right here, Mike Wolfe did not anticipate that ball going high. He really liked that shot off his hand. DeVaney's going to be, Mike Wolfe is going to be in the 220s. The strike will give him 221. Mike DeVaney will need the first strike in the 10th frame and good count. First strike, 9 spare. Mike DeVaney will win. Anything less, Mike Wolfe moves on.
Leaves the 10.
DeVaney still needs the first hit in the 10th frame.
So 220 for Wolfe.
Strike at 8, DeVaney's a winner. He struck all but one shot on this right lane. He's been doing it all day long. The shootout match against Rhino Page. Games of 258, 278. Now he can strike out for 235.
In his first match in the 10th, DeVaney went strike, strike, strike. In the second match, strike, strike, 9. Middle up here, strike.
Does it again. He's getting the breaks. He's getting the good carry, but he's also making great shots.
The 7 seed on the verge of moving on to our semifinals.
8 on this next ball.
Is all he needs.
And I'm going to go out on a limb.
He's going to
Say
get
that
it.
he's going to get more than 8 on this shot. This guy's dialed in. Are you kidding me?
7.
He just needs 2 of them. He just needs 2 of them, and I'm never going out on a limb again.
No, stay on board. Now remember, he whiffed in his first match on a spare pickup of 1 pin. This should be a no-brainer, though.
I'm not saying anything.
DeVaney has made it interesting and exciting all day long, and the 7th seed moves on again. A tight one, 221 to 220. We welcome you back to the first primetime telecast of the PBA season since 2001. Next week. Bowling Stadium in Reno, Nevada, 1 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. The defending champ in that tournament, Patrick Allen, and Allen still waiting in the wings. He's our number 1 seed, getting set to take on the winner of this match. The number 2 seed, Wes Malott versus the hot kid, Mike DeVaney, coming all the way up from the 7th seed today to play in the semifinals versus Malott. And Malott is the man they call the Beast. We'll tell you why, although it's going to be pretty obvious once you look at him. But first, it's the man they call Monkey Boy. Monkey Boy versus the Beast. On paper, advantage Beast. But Monkey Boy has been awesome today. And that is why. Dialed in.
And that's a ball change. Remember, this guy's been tearing them up. Games of 258, 278, 221 last game. But the lanes are going through transition, unlike anything you folks at home experience, unless you bowl a PBA Experience League. Those belonging to the PBA Experience League can log on to bowl.com to get tips from our pros on how to play the different patterns.
Here's Wes Malott. 6'5", 250 pounds. He rattles the cage like few others. As we take a look at our Motel 6 matchup. Malott making his second TV appearance. Best finish this year has been second. DeVaney's third. So both of them looking for their first title in this season.
Wes Malott, just a few weeks ago, bowling Michael Haugen Jr. for the title. Wes needed the first strike in the 10th frame. Left a vicious ringing 10. Wes says, you know what? They owe me one today.
Just missed swiping out the 10. Malott from Argyle, Texas, in between Fort Worth and Denton.
Seen this a few times today. The head pin in front.
Is that just bad luck?
That's just ball entry angle into the pins. And depending on the center characteristics, sometimes you get that more than other places. Sometimes a certain center of the back end, the side panels will be a little livelier. It just depends on where. A lot of it also has to do with the oil pattern.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, turns into an okay, skims the 10 pin out of the way. So he starts strike spare. This is the 4th match today for DeVaney. He started off 2 of them, rather make that 3 of them with strikes. In fact, 3 of them with strikes. Saw DeVaney do a little shoe swipe there, and there's been some talk this week of the skid marks left behind by Wes Malott on his shoes. Big man comes in and leaves a little rubber mark there, and it's caught the shoes of some of the bowlers. Talk about that more in a second. Here's DeVaney.
Check out the moves that he's been making all throughout the day. Now, that's around third arrow. The next match, he migrates into almost fourth arrow. This match, he's pretty much in the same kind of area, except he's gone to a bowling ball that's a little bit less aggressive, something that's going to push a little bit longer down the lane before it starts to come around the corner.
Get lucky. Not lucky. Unlucky 7 stands.
And getting back to Wes Malott and the rubber that he leaves behind on his, it's actually from the heel of his slide shoe. And Patrick Allen had an issue with it last night, or excuse me, 2 nights ago in position round. And now it seems like Mike DeVaney's having the same problem. And it's not intentional, it's the material on his heel. And what happens is he's a big guy, he likes to plant and hit, and what residue there. And if you happen to be sliding in the same place where Wes Malott is sliding, you're going to run into trouble.
Patrick Allen ran into trouble with it on Friday, hit it, and actually fell over.
Yeah, he ended up out at the arrows.
Malott drives those 10 to the turf. So Allen bit it, essentially, on his toss, and he was essentially blaming it on this rubber residue left behind, and there was a bit of a verbal confrontation between the two, and Allen thought he heard something from Malott. Malott said, all right, let's settle this right now. Not in like, let's go out and back and drop some gloves here, but just listen, what did you say? Allen said, I didn't say anything, and they've moved on, but there was a heated moment Friday, and those two may be facing each other again in a few minutes as Patrick Allen, the number 1 seed, waiting in the wings for the winner between DeVaney and Malott.
Now, you called him the Beast. Last year I called him the Big Nasty, but I've got a new one for him, and we used it a couple of weeks ago. I like to call him the Kraken now because he's big, mean, and nasty.
McCracken?
No, the Kraken. Not Big Earn McCracken. This isn't Kingpin.
McCracken.
The Kraken.
I'll write that down. I'm not sure.
Did you not see the movie?
I did, but apparently I don't see movies as many times as you do. Gets down 10.
And speaking of Big Earn McCracken, right now, Mike DeVaney has just gotten another Munson right there. It's 3 9 spares in a row if he converts here, and right now he's got the pin carry like a Munson. Did you ever see the movie Kingpin?
I have,
Well, there you go. Then you understand what I'm talking about.
but it's been a while.
Okay. Played by Woody Harrelson.
Were you in that movie?
I was. Don't blink, you'll miss me.
So DeVaney down 12 to the 2 seed, Wes Malott. Malott will watch DeVaney here in the 5th. DeVaney won his lone career title in the 2003 Geico Earl Anthony Classic. 2 years ago, he was 7th. Last year, 11th. Gets 10 right there.
You see the adjustment by him. He tries to go a little bit light now because all of his flush hits aren't carrying. Mike moves a little bit deeper and gets the swish hit. Wes Malott working on a double 5th frame. Leads by 12.
Number 3 on the world point rankings list. He was number 1 last season on that list. His average this year, 228.58, number 2 on the season. He was number 2 last season as well.
Watch this form. It's just God-given talent. Just beautiful arm swing, and he's got a release like no other. A very interesting technique. Looks down at the foul line when he lets go of it. He says he stands on the same board he's looking at. His swing just follows line.
Oh, baby! Because of that raw talent, he's not one to practice a whole lot. He says, I do that because the more I practice, the more bad habits I create, and I start going a little too fast. So he stays away from the lane so he can be successful like he is today. Who will survive to take on the number 1 seed, Patrick Allen, the conclusion of our semi when we return. 8th event of the Deany's PBA Tour.
throw them in that spot, all 10 are going to go down. And Mike DeVaney just trying to get dialed in to create some carry because he doesn't want Wes Malott to get too far out in front. This is what we like to call in the biz high flush.
Oh, nice lingo. High flush. So today, DeVaney, 258, 278, 221. What's the lingo for that?
Automatic with that ball.
Is that a ring in 10?
Ring of 10, and he's left a couple of those this game, and that is the reason why he's trailing thus far. 3 10-pins and a 7-pin, and this looks just as good as anything that I've thrown in my career, and unfortunately the angle creates that ring in 10.
DeVaney was winless in his last 4 TD matches coming into today. He's looking for his 4th straight win on the day. Twice he has won by 1 pin today. Now steps up the beast, the Kraken, Shrek, Wes Malott. No shortage of nicknames or strikes for Malott. Looking for 5 in a row. Finding it.
You know, a lot of these guys have great nicknames. Wes Malott, Mike DeVaney's got Monkey Boy. You've got a great nickname, Rob Stone, and your nickname's Stoner. My old partner I used to work with, Dave Ryan, he was Rhino. I don't have a nickname. Do you have a nickname for me, Rob?
P-Man? Peterson? P-Man?
I don't think we should use that one.
Hey, you asked Princess? Is that better? Got awfully silent next to me.
Oh, baby.
We'll come up with something for you in Spartanburg. How about that? Maybe our listeners, our viewers, can drop us an email on your new nickname here as we look at what Malott has to deal with. Should be an easy pickup.
Got real firm with that, got it into the oil. The ball goes light, leaves it 2-8, but on this pattern, the way the lanes are broken down especially, should not be a problem converting the 2-8. All right. And just for the record, with all due respect, and remember when you say with all due respect, you can say anything after that, I've never liked you.
How about Cookie Monster? The Candy Man? You know, you moan about your weight, and I look at you, and you're double-fisting with Snickers and cookies at the same time.
Listen, I didn't say anything about my weight. You were the one that said something about my weight. Mike DeVaney looking to get back in this match, trailing by 31, working on a spare 8th frame. There we go. All right, so here's the deal, Rob. Mike DeVaney can strike out to shoot 237. If Wes Malott finishes the match going strike, spare, he'll shoot 238. Check that, 237.
Down 31. Throws in. 7. Mocks him.
It's going to be a tall order now for Mike DeVaney to win this match. He's going to have Wes Malott just fall completely apart 9th and 10th because now the best DeVaney can shoot is 217. And I had it right the first time. Strike, spare, out. It's 238 for Wes Malott. Right now, all he needs is a mark here in the 9th frame and good count, and he's moving on to bowl Patrick Allen for the title.
Well, we knew it would be difficult for somebody to come out of that 4-person battle royal that opened up our broadcast.
Got that lane.
And you got a fresh,
Got to get that lane. Come on.
fierce
Figure it out.
Wes Malott. Chucking with ease right now.
He will again bowl for the title.
Looking for his 8th strike of this game. Needs just 5 pins to win it.
A lot. Where's my
That's all he needed. So it'll be a 1v2 matchup in our championship match. Malott brings up the spare. So up next, the number 1 seed, the lefty, Patrick Allen, takes to the hardwood. Wait till you hear what the verbose Allen has to say about his efforts as he gets set to take on Malott. ESPN at 1 p.m. Eastern for an hour and a half. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Time now for our Geico Championship recap, heavy on Mike DeVaney.
And lots of action in semifinal number 1, or should we call it the round robin? Mike DeVaney needs 3 in the 10th, shoots .258, and beats Chris Warren, Barnes, and Walter Ray. Match number 2, DeVaney takes on newcomer, or should I say up-and-comer, Rhino Page. He pounds Page into submission, 278, 215, and then in match number 3, he takes on the big bad Wolfe, Mike Wolfe.
Honestly, buddy.
Beats Mike Wolfe by 1, but then it's the big nasty's turn. He takes care of Mike DeVaney in our last match, 236 to 207.
So that sets up a 1v2 final. The lefty, Patrick Allen, the number 1 seed, set to warm up right now, taking on Wes Malott. Our coverage of the final begins when we return.
Fantastic dunk.
Back in Baltimore, it's a junior wave as we get set for the finals of the Lumber Liquidators Championship 1v2. Patrick Allen taking on Wes Malott, both competitors seeking their first title of the season. Two contrasting styles as we look at how everybody worked their way to this point. A great run by DeVaney, but it came to an end in the semifinals courtesy of the big Texan, Wes Malott. Malott now taking on Patrick Allen.
Rob, you know, Mike DeVaney told us last night that PA has the best chance to win because he can go straight enough, and that straight shot gives you a better pin carry. That's what Mike DeVaney said, but keep in mind, Wes Malott won his last title on this very same pattern.
Allen very conversational with himself while he bowls. Very entertaining audio coming your way. Push. Maybe not right now, but down the road. Try not to oversell it, but
Yeah, don't oversell. Yeah.
we listened to him at the USBC Masters, and he was a riot.
He strings 4, 5, 6 in a row, and he gets out to a big lead. Absolutely, you'll hear him hoop it up.
We asked Malott how to describe his style yesterday. One word: awkward. Not like gangly 13-year-old getting acne, greasy hair awkward. Just unique and different, and big guy chucking the rock. Thinking about it.
2-0. Ball comes in just a little bit high. Leaves the 4-pin. Almost gets a nice break here. Ooh.
I mean, that pin took about 3 cracks. If the 4-pin wouldn't drop, that'll take care of it. So Malott opens up with a spare. Motel 6 matchup, number 1 versus number 2. These two took on each other earlier this week in round-robin match play, and they tied 248-248.
Patrick Allen, former Player of the Year, taking on a guy that finished second in the voting for Player of the Year last season.
Stratton, give me 10. Now Allen steps up, and yesterday he was saying, you know, numbers-wise, that number 1 seed really hasn't won a whole lot, but the top seeds have won 5 of the last 6 stepladder finals, including both times this season.
he opens with the double.
Using two different bowling balls, playing the lanes to about the same zone on both, but the two different bowling balls gives him the same kind of look going down the lane.
Get behind him, man. Come on. You got to feel better.
That's the difference between Rhino Page and what he did and the proven experience of Patrick Allen. Rhino, our only other southpaw in his debut, struggled just a bit, shooting .215, but he ran into a buzzsaw against Mike DeVaney.
Tomorrow night on ESPN, Monday Night Football, the Saints and Falcons, two NFC Southern rivals, do battle. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown. Kickoff around 8:30 on ESPN. Allen, very deliberate.
Come on.
The 7-pin stopped them from an opening turkey. What?
Flat 7 for PA. Looks real good right until it hits the 1-2.
0-1 on television this season is Allen. This, though, is second championship appearance of the season. Again, he was in the USBC Masters in Milwaukee earlier this year.
Remember, this guy made $350,000 04-05 season, second highest all time.
Hey there, Ryan.
He was the PBA Player of the Year that year as well. Owns 9 career Denny's PBA Tour titles, including 1 major.
Ow.
You know, for
Make sure to head over to PBA.com to check out the tour's all-new online video service called Extra Frame. It's a subscription service, costs only $5.95 a month. It offers behind-the-scenes tour footage, interviews, coverage of featured matches from the tournament all week, live scoring with the new pin mapping technology, and much more. Make sure to check it out at PBA.com. Get down, 10, yeah!
Well, he said they owed him one. He just got one right there. And it couldn't have come at a better time. Just a touch of, just a pinch here on carry. Wes Malott, even though he's a big hook guy, he can still go straight when he wants to, and that's what he's doing. That's the game plan, is trying to keep the ball on line.
Just enough energy to take down that final pin. Malott looking for a triple.
Up. Okay with that. Come on.
Same shot he threw against Mike DeVaney the last game. But gets the ball in a pinch too far to the left. It doesn't catch the dry boards down the lane to the right, and I think very fortunate not to leave the 10-pin with it, just leaving the 2-8.
All right.
Cleans up that. So spare, strike, strike, spare for Malott. When we return, the conclusion of the Lumber Liquidators Championship. Who will win their first title of the season? Big Wes or the lefty, Patrick Allen? We will be with you till the conclusion of this Lumber Liquidators Championship Finals. We take a look at the Denny's 2007-2008 Chris Schenkel PBA Player of the Year point race leaderboard. 5 of today's 8 bowlers in the top 10. Walter Ray Williams Jr. on top of everybody with 44. Walter Ray did not make it out of our first match today. One of these guys are going to elevate their point list. Allen. Or that man, Wes Malott.
You gotta feel better, Hoss.
Allen up right now.
Feel better. Come on.
A lot of self-talk. Put yourself in the right mental frame to deliver
your A shot.
Got a chance, maybe.
A it is. He's staring it down, though. He saw something, Randy.
I think he's a little confused by the lack of reaction on that shot. I think he's thinking that that ball should have hooked up a little bit harder and finished a little bit higher flush in the 1-2 pocket. PA, he said himself to us that, you know, I'm like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. As they're clearing the deadwood out of the right lane. What do you make of that, Rob?
The Forrest Gump reference?
Yeah.
He was saying it in response to my comment about how vocal he is out there. And I said, you know, we really enjoyed listening to you in the Masters. And he says, you know, you never know what comes out of my mouth, because I don't know what's coming out of my mouth. It's been very subdued, but focused so far.
No Ravens game here, baby. You don't need to watch the Ravens game.
Scratch subdued. It has just been elevated. I like it. I like it a whole lot. Allen now on top by 11. Back-to-back strikes. Here's Wes Malott. He's gone spare, strike, strike, spare in the fourth.
Boom! There's some curving going on with that man, sir. Wes Malott's taking a giant step to the left, and he's going to open up the lanes. He's going to let it all out. 6 frame, halfway through. He's down by 11. Can close within 1 with a strike here.
Told us how surprised he was at his success this week. Didn't really see this one coming as he continues his learning curve on the tour.
That's something you don't see a whole lot happen.
Too many guys on the right side today.
Guy with that kind of power leaving this kind of week 10. Watch this.
Never know.
6 pin's going to go to the sidewall and just DOA itself right in the right gutter.
Hammers down to 10. Picks up the spare.
Wes Malott did make the 7-10 split this week. Made it against Walter Ray Williams Jr. in match play.
It's only happened 3 times in televised history. Allen up 11 in the 6th. Looking for a 3-bagger.
One time.
See, and I think that's what's confusing to Patrick. The last shot on that lane came in a little bit light, and this one really charges up high on the head pin. And he's got to finish the game on that lane.
Takes care of that one with a victory today. He will have won at least 1 title in each of the last 5 seasons.
Come on, man.
Up 10 as we enter the 7th frame.
Last one.
He's taking his last re-rack. You only get 2 per game. Patrick.
And why do you take those re-racks? A couple of reasons, I would assume.
2 reasons. One, the pins are off spot. You don't like the configuration. Remember, it's machines that are putting those pins down. They're not always set on spot. They're not always perfect. And the second reason is you're just trying to buy yourself some extra time. In any event, you're still only allowed 2 per game.
Pretty good shot too.
Not often you see the 9 standing.
Not bad.
This one's just going to drift just a shade light. Remember, he's using two different bowling balls, more aggressive bowling ball in the right lane, something a little bit smoother on the left, and that one just never made it up to the pocket. PA told us both last night, there's not a lot of weeks out here where the lefties have a chance, and when you get it, you got to take advantage of it. Right now, Patrick Allen with a spare will maintain a 9-pin lead.
Curls on in, drops it. But a bit of an opening here for Malott.
Right now, if West can double 7th and 8th frame, he'll take the lead.
Malott's last TV appearance and his last title both came on this scorpion oil pattern that the competitors are dealing with today.
Be the right ball. Be the right ball. Yeah, baby. Be the right one. Come on.
The Kraken. Wes Malott using a different bowling ball on the right lane than he is on the left. Be the right bowling ball, he says. It is, at least for now.
Strike, and he takes the lead.
Gotta get it right. Gotta get it right, Wes. There's a puddle there. You know it. God.
Errant shot. He didn't get it far enough to the right. The ball's got to get further right to pick up the dry boards to get that ball back into the pocket. Wes knows that. Again, the good break or the good news is he only leaves the 2-8.
When he said there was a puddle there, what did he mean?
Puddle of oil this deep in the middle part of the lane. If he doesn't get it far enough to the right, there's not enough friction to get it back.
Well, he had a chance to take the lead. And now the #1 seed, Allen, has a chance to try and increase his lead.
You let this guy hang around long enough, he's going to put you away.
With a win today, Allen would earn his 10th title and become eligible for the PBA Hall of Fame once he retires.
PA taking an intentional shot clock violation. He's not going to be rushed.
Come on, man. Right move here. Come on. Come on. Make the right move.
It's not quite fast break bowling from Patrick Allen, but it is effective.
Well, he shreds rack there, and we have more deadwood on the right lane. The pins are actually coming out in front of the sweep. So PA cannot throw another shot until they clear that deadwood. You see it right there. And he's in the driver's seat right now. The best Wes Malott can shoot if he strikes out is 228. Patrick Allen can shoot 247.
Next week, we roll the lanes in South Carolina, the 2007 Spartanburg Classic, live coverage on ESPN. We return to our normal time slot, 1 p.m. Eastern, an hour and a half at least worth of coverage on ESPN next Sunday, and then they'll take an extended holiday break and rejoin you in the new year in Reno. Allen up 9.
Time?
Yeah! Huge.
Epic.
Huge shot there for PA. That puts him in the 220s. One strike in the 10th frame, he'll be in the 230s. The most Wes Malott can shoot, 228. It's all about striking out 9th and 10th frame to put pressure on your opponent. Without a strike here, this match is all but over.
Strike it is. Big step up from Big Wes.
Well, let's see if he gets the ball far enough right on this left lane, and let's see what happens if he does. This left lane, the ball's got to get out to this right part of the lane in order for it to hook back. If it's too much down the center, the ball hits that puddle of oil, it'll never make it.
Come on.
Nice.
Baby, give me a chance.
He's got more than a chance.
Yep, 2 more. That's all he's looking for right now to put the pressure back in the Patrick Allen camp. Let's see how far right this one gets. See, that hits the spot, makes its move back. I think he can make that ball a little bit further to the right. I think it'll come off even harder off that spot and face up, go flush in the 1-3 pocket.
Again, he can max out at 228 should he get 2 more strikes.
Never got it there. Never got it to the spot. You could see that it was left of the last shot. And had no chance of hooking. Patrick Allen needs any mark in the 10th frame.
Again.
Any mark for PA, he'll win his 10th title.
Malott ends with a 217. Allen has been very deliberate today. He's had a long time to wait to get up here and finally bowl in the championship match. Needs only a mark to earn his first tour title of the season and 10th of his career.
That's number 10, baby! That's 10! 10! 10! All 10!
10 pins down and 10 tour titles.
It's in my hands now. It's in yours.
Why not? Why not?
Great house.
Good ball, man. It's a great shot.
Left lane, there's a big puddle in there. I couldn't do nothing about it. Nothing I could do.
One of the best on tour.
I'm not about finishing last.
All right. Yeah. And you're on that side.
Allen just rolling out.
Baltimore, brother! Yes! Yes!
And rolling out in style.
One of the best on tour with either hand.
There's been a lot that mean a lot, but this one means everything right here. Yes! Yes! Yes!
Tour title
1-0!
1-0 for Patrick Allen.
Ebonite International, Ebonite Hammer. I've got here almost
Shouts
all the time
out
you guys.
to
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Allen wins his first of the season, 10th of his career. We'll be back to wrap up our coverage from Baltimore after this. The Lumber Liquidators Championship is brought to you by CLR. CLR, all kinds of dirty, one kind of clean. By Bear, the more you know, the more you trust Bear. By Lumber Liquidators, hardwood flooring for less. And by Deany's. Deany's always works. The top seed has now won 6 of the last 7 stepladder finals, including all 3 this season. Patrick Allen takes home tour title number 10.
Got in my hands now.
Time now for our CLR clean sweep, and it's all about PA.
PA knew what he needed in the 10th frame, gets up, throws 3 in the 10th, wins his 10th title.
That's number 10, baby!
He knew it. He was hunting double digits. Next week, we head to the Palmetto State, South Carolina for the Spartanburg Classic. Live coverage Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Congratulations again to our winner this week.
Sunday.
Patrick Allen takes home his first title of the season. His best finish of the season coming into today was third at the Masters. It's number one today for Randy Peterson and our entire ESPN crew. I'm Rob Stone. We'll see you next Sunday from Spartanburg, South Carolina. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Coming up next on ESPN, College Football Live. So long from Baltimore. Congratulations to Patrick Allen.